Everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Touliatos, brought to you by his book, The Bible of Bodybuilding 2, over 700 pages, chock full of information about training, nutrition, supplementation, and of course, PED use. Most of the questions you guys asked, they're in that book. You can get it on Amazon.com. And if you're on Amazon, might as well get my book too. It's such a great book, Real Bodybuilding. And now all the way from Athens, Greece, please welcome Dr. George N. Touliatos. Hey, George. What's up, man?
Carl, how's it going with your recovery?
A little better, a little better. The pain is starting to get. I'm having less pain, which for about a week it wasn't feeling any better. I was like, something's wrong, but it's there. And so this Wednesday, this is going to air Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, I meet with my surgeon, and I think they're going to take this immobilizer off, which keeps it's got steel rods in the bottom. They're going to switch me over to one of those. I think it's like a plastic thing with the hinge and the dial, so you can start putting a little bend in the knee because we're the Olympia. I got to be at the Olympia in 6.5 weeks in Orlando. I have to get better fast. So
Yeah.
please, God, heal me, God. Anyway,
But you still remain in good shape in the torso.
well, my new training split is push pull. That's it. Pretty easy to remember, right? Yeah. But I go
Yeah.
around the gym on crutches. It's hilarious. But yeah, it's cool. No more leg
So
days.
yesterday I was invited by the Greek Federation, or actually it's the FBB, the European one, the elite. So
Yeah.
I was invited because they wanted to reward me for all my contribution to the bodybuilding. And I got this trophy here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What does that say?
I mean, it's a reward by a pathologist, my name, September 2023. And it's actually it's a Grand Prix. It's called Mr. Odysseus. I mean, from the ancient Greek, after Troy was a hero, Odysseus, I think, who traveled to Ithaca, and it's called on by his name. Anyway, it was a bodybuilding show, and I have to tell you frankly, if I was like I was with Pepper now, I could win the Supermasters.
Wow. See? So
That could happen.
that was the Odysseus. Is that his name?
Yeah, something like that.
Because there was a very famous Homer wrote a long poem called the Odyssey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So very, very famous. Wow. Hey, so we had another pro show. They're almost done qualifying for the Olympia. There's only a couple more. Yesterday was the Europa Pro in Alicante, Spain. And it was a rematch between Nathan D'Asha, who had won the Flex Pro weekend in Milan, Italy the weekend before with a perfect score. And then yesterday, Regan beats him with the perfect score. So a little bit of a controversy. How does a guy go from getting a perfect score and winning one week to the other guy getting a perfect score and beating him the next week?
We have to admit that Regan was improved, more detailed. He was phenomenally improved from 2 years ago. He was not just his color that you said it was the pre-judging with the finals. It was just the tanning, but he was drier, more defined, and harder. I believe he definitely deserves. We need to see new blood also in the Olympia stage. Okay. On the other point, I was always telling you that if somebody had already qualified, what's the point of taking the place of somebody else? Mike Kefalianos earned the qualification in Australia 10 years ago or something by coming third because first was Branchward and second was Tony Freeman or Ben Pacucci, somebody else. So, I mean, let's assume that the top 6 in the Olympia go to every European or American show month by month. Nobody else will earn the qualification. This is not fair play because we need to see more people, okay? And I believe, I mean, if you come runner-up after those guys who have already earned the pro card, the qualification, you deserve to go if you're runner-up. Anyway, the Asha perhaps was, I don't know, I'm not sure. I guess it has to be with the conditioning. But as far as I know, Regan was a step ahead from his previous look, right? He was improved.
He was. I don't have a problem with him winning. And, Regan's the controversy, there's always, when two guys are very close, and I think they were very close. I think Nathan could have won yesterday. When it's like that, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And there's always going to be a conspiracy theory where they come back and say, well, they only let Regan win so he can go to the Olympia. Or they let Regan win because he's got 2 million followers on Instagram.
Frankly, he doesn't deserve the stage. He doesn't deserve the stage.
I mean, no, I thought he looked great. It's you know, it is what it is. It's just nobody's ever happy unless the guy they want to win wins.
What about the special permissions that many earn? Even Big Ramy earned a special mission, became 2 times Mr. Come on.
That's right. That's right. And Derek Lunsford got the special invitation last year, and he took second place. So there you go. So it shows you special. They have not announced a special invite yet for this year, so I don't know if anybody's getting one this year.
Cedric Marmillan, the latest Cedric Marmillan had also.
He had one, yeah.
2019. Yeah.
I know that in the 212 division, Breon Ansley, who had won the Classic twice, Classic Olympia, he was going, the last time I interviewed him about a month ago, he said he was going to ask for a special invitation to compete in the 212 Olympia, and people were upset about that. And I don't know if he even asked and they said no, or if he didn't bother, because then they bumped up the weight. Actually, they had done that by the time we had spoken. That's why I did the interview. So he's back in Classic. So I don't think anybody, as far as I know, there's nobody getting any special invites this year. It's just going to be the winners of the shows. So, you know, congratulations to Regan. He did look phenomenal. And Milos, good job, Milos. 1 week is
Milos
not a lot
is in Europe now. Milos is in Serbia.
Right.
I think so, because she posted a picture with in a pizza restaurant.
Yeah.
So because I think Regan makes the European shows.
Yeah, usually.
Milos follows him, yeah.
Question for you, dog. When was the last time, did they ever have a pro show in Greece?
They had only once in 1988. The Athena Grand Prix was Barry DeMay, Rich Gaspari, Lola Branda, Bob Paris, Edward Kawak, Rob Lowe, all the old school, yeah.
Didn't they do a photo shoot by the Parthenon with like Gaspari and Labrada?
Only Labrada did as a winner between the columns, you know?
Yeah.
The marbles. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, cool. How far are you from the Parthenon right now? I'm just curious.
It's about 10 miles, I think so.
Yeah, so it's like no big deal. You grew up seeing all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, for us, for me to see, they'd be like, oh my God, that's the Parthenon.
I remember Jay Cutler, when Jay Cutler visited Athens for a second time in a row, 2016 was May. And we went with him at the Acropolis. So he was in front. He was very anxious and worried to see the Parthenon. He was walking so fascinated, like a small boy going to the Disneyland, you know. And then I was filming him. I was behind him, and he said, "Wow! I mean, it was one of the 7 wonders of the world, you know."
Yeah. And
he had an ecstasy looking at the Parthenon, you know. He was looking like a boy watching the Disneyland.
How old is that? Like 5,000 years old?
It was 450 BC, so actually 2,500,000. Yeah, 20.
Yeah, because we live in a country. Years. This country is only 250 years old that we live in, so we don't have anything like that old here. Nothing. We see something that's like 300 years old here. We're like, wow, it's old. 300 years old. Anyway, all right, we got to get to some questions. I wanted to start with a great question, and it's referring to a fictional character from the movie Rocky IV. Ivan Drago was played by Dolph Lundgren. So this question is, he wasn't a real person, guys. That was a character. Does the doctor know which steroids were used in the former Soviet Union? What PEDs would a boxer like Ivan Drago get? So that's a good question.
Watching the film. Yeah, it was
1986. Just to put it in perspective, this is the 80s.
85 actually, but it was so clear that they were injecting his shoulder parabola. It was this yellowish fluid. Yeah.
Oh wow.
You can see it. You can see it.
There's a scene.
The shoulder. Now in the Soviet Union, they had Dbol, of course. Yeah. The Russian famous Dbol was the breakfast of the champions. Okay.
Yeah. That's right.
Also was Romania with Turinabol. Naposin in Romania. Turinabol was in DDR,
East Germany. Yeah.
East German Republic. And in Greece it was in Greece it wasn't Dbol, it was Anadrol. So these 3 pills was, let's say, the bulking pills, even though Turinabol is a dry drug.
Yeah.
So that's for Dbol, but in the show you can see the injecting parabola. Wow. It was not Trembolone, it was parabolan back then.
Parabolan, yeah, which was, for those who don't know, that was the only Trembolone.
Yeah.
It was produced for humans. It was 76 milligrams in an ampule.
Exactly. 76 and 1.5 ml. It was very peculiar. and it was by Enigma in France. It was withdrawn in 1997, and it was the intermediate ester, the hexa, which is something less, something between acetate and enanthate. Okay.
Yeah, they make an underground version of that trend, because you can get Tren-Ace. Acetate is the most commonly used here. Everybody uses that. I have seen some Tren Enanthate on the market, and Tren Hex. So that would be like the middle ester.
Hexa.
Do you remember the name? Because the Russian Dbol had a brand name. I can't remember what it was.
No, but I had tried the tablets with the Russian letters. I think there were 10, 20 tablets in a row.
Yeah.
In 2 rows of 10. Yeah.
You know, it's funny.
They were white. They were white tablets. White.
Yeah. I worked for a company, American Sports Network. They had gone over with the pro bodybuilders in the 80s, like around 88, to Russia, to Moscow, for a big posing exhibition or something. And he came back with some steroids. I don't know, he must have smuggled them in, the producer of the show. And they kept them locked up in a drawer. But I used to go and look at them and be fascinated with these. The amps had, the Russian writing on them and everything.
You know that the Dbol was in America by Siba, and Milos said that it was withdrawn 25 milligrams only in 1 ml. Not too much.
25 milligram tablets?
No, in 1 ml. It was injectable
okay.
by Siba.
Right, because Dbol tablets used to come in 5 milligrams for the longest time.
5, 10, 5 and 10.
Yeah, people used to, when I was starting to learn about steroids, they used to have these big tubs from Thailand.
Yeah, the British Drago, like 20 years ago, the hexagon, like the steroid.
Correct. Yeah. And anapolin, that was the anadrol from Turkey, right? Anapolin?
Anapolin and anasterone from Greece.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's our drug talk for today. Well, here's a question we get every week. I apologize, doctor. I always ask you the same questions, but people want to know how to protect their hair and reduce acne on cycle.
Yeah, we've said that it's DHT dependent. So acne can be reversed by killing the DHT locally by azelaic acid. And now, assumingly, if you kill the DHT by 5-aeroreductase inhibitors, the androgen, you can reverse acne. But this may castrate you also. It will also give you more hair. We will stop the baldness, the hair thinning, and growing new follicles by finasteride and testosterone. Okay.
Yeah. Your hairline looks, because you post a lot of throwback pictures from when you were a younger man. Your hair is barely receded. The hairline's still where it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I have a little bit of thinning perhaps in the back, but I'm 50. Come on.
Beautiful head of hair. All right, next one. This is Musa from UK. I have a question and would appreciate Dr. T's opinion. It would save my life. So let's save this guy's life, doc. I'm 32-year-old male, did a testosterone check, and it was 13.3 nmol. That's around 383 in the US, by the way we measure it. Would Dr. T recommend TRT? Bear in mind, I have the symptoms of low T. And what's the best dose of testosterone enanthate per weight?
We need to see also, we need to see also the free testosterone. How much is it? Yes, under 400, you don't have quality of life. Well, nevertheless, you can try PCD protocol or with the HCG and the SERMs. If it doesn't work, then go to TRT. But I doubt if you're going to find any urologists or endos that will prescribe you TRT under such levels.
Yeah,
they demand even more.
Everyone from the UK, because you have patients in the UK, they do not like to prescribe testosterone in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, well, the same in Greece. Come on, there was a boy with 200 with 330 pounds, and they told him we don't need that. Come on.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. That's one thing, we're kind of backward in some ways with the medicine, but not that way.
Last week, I posted an article, why doctors hate testosterone.
Right.
And I have 5 solid reasons. Yeah, I mean, it sounds reasonable why they don't want, because the miraculous drug, you don't depend on doctors anymore. The big pharma loses money because you heal other miraculous prescriptions, and you save somebody from other diseases. It's also the ignorance, is the prejudice coming from bodybuilding and sports. All right, and finally, it could be also the levels of the mankind of 21st century that men are. I mean, it's between women take testosterone to become men, transgender, but a man cannot feel a man, an alpha male, And the levels and the average of the 21st century of an adult male are so low. I mean, in the 50s, it was 400 below. Now it's below 150 to 100, which equals the chemical castration of a rapist. Come on. You cannot jerk off, not just flirt or lift or lose your belly button or whatever. You know, it's so pathetic. And actually, men die because of low testosterone. End of story. It's a slow death penalty.
Yeah, you know, we have this saying here. Sorry, in America, the USA, the doctors want to keep you sick because if you're sick, you need to keep, especially if it's testosterone. If your testosterone levels are high, you don't need ED drugs, probably. You don't need diabetes drugs.
You don't need statins. You don't need metformin. You don't need SSRIs.
Right.
Or you don't have arthritis. You don't have osteoporosis. You don't have wasting. Bye-bye, doctor, you say.
Well, buy pharmaceutical. It's the big pharma, the pharmaceutical companies. Billions of dollars they would lose if people did not need these drugs. We've been getting more and more questions from women. What does Dr. T think about females using Tbol, which we just talked about, is very similar to Dbol. It was developed in the Eastern Bloc for their athletes back in the 60s, I think. So what do you think about females using Tbol? It's not common, but I know a handful of girls who use it. I personally like it better than anavar.
Well, it's a dry drug. It's very anabolic, but it's also androgenic. So that's why women had Hirschsprung's realization back in the Eastern Bloc. Yeah, there was a case of a shot put, thrower of a woman that became a lesbian and transgender after.
Wow. And
she injected testosterone every 21 days, the old-fashioned protocol of the 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But it certainly gives you, a beer to women, a larger clitoris, voice deepening.
Yeah.
Okay, the breast shrinking. And it's also super toxic. 3 digital liver enzymes and crashing and boosting HDL, LDL. So it's not a cool drug for health perception. Anavar is less toxic in the liver.
Yeah.
You can also mess up your lipids. But believe me, anavar is also super strong because it has an anabolic activity equal to winstrol.
Yeah.
All right. And it's not so androgenic. So anavar is more favorable for women because of the androgenic effects.
Right. Yeah. You're old enough to remember they used to joke all the time about the East German swimming, the female East German swimmers look like men because they had like big jaws and
the press conference, one American, reporter asked, the tone of the voice is very deep, and the coach says, they're here to swim, not to sing.
Yeah, but it's funny because they were making these jokes, and there was no awareness of steroids back then. So I don't know how they thought they must have just been choosing women that were already very masculine or something, or close to being a man for their swim team. But it was steroids, guys. They were on steroids. All right. Next one is, what blood work test should be done before, during, and post cycle, and when should we do it? For instance, 2 weeks before the cycle, 6 weeks into the cycle, 4 weeks post cycle. What would you recommend as far as when to get your blood work done?
I've said that numerous times.
Yeah,
just before and into the cycle, you need to check the CBC, the liver, the kidneys, and the heart. Within the cycle, not necessarily because you're going to freak out unless you have side effects like headaches, nose bleeding, acne. No, not so much acne, actually gynecomastia. Post-workout, after the PCT, all right, to see how bad are the lipids, the liver, the kidneys, the CBC, of course, and the testosterone finally.
Okay, yeah. I'm afraid I would not do blood work right now because my liver enzymes, I bet they're like through the roof from Tylenol, OxyContin.
Listen now, go to somebody who freaks out with the blood steroids and tell him that's the proof that steroids are not the only one that stress the liver.
Oh yeah. Okay?
Because somebody else will tell you, oh, stop anything you're taking, assuming that you're taking steroids. I'm not taking steroids. I'm taking those bloody medications that also stress the liver. Okay, it's not just about the anabolic steroids.
If you Google in the United States what drug is responsible for the most emergency room admissions, it's Tylenol, acetaminophen, because it's very liver toxic. If you take that every day, your liver is going to take a beating. Like right now, my liver is probably looking like Swiss cheese. I don't know. Next one. Last cycle was 600 tests, 400 Deca a week, and 20 to 30 milligrams Dbol on training days. I am sensitive to high estrogen and had a small bit of gyno, and libido was really low. Also, loss of hair. Gyno was sore to the touch. I only had nolvadex on hand. I'm looking for the right AI, aromatase inhibitor, to take and other supplements to support this from not happening again. He means prevent this from happening again. Would Aromasin, DHEA, and pregnenolone help?
Not DHEA, no pregnenolone, but Aromasin is very important. The point is, how much was the cycle? 600?
600 tests, 400 Deca, and on training days, 20 to 30.
You're taking everything that aromatizes. So lowering half testosterone enanthate and take off, I mean, also half of the dose of Dbol. It's very reasonable to have Gyno with those compounds, okay? They highly estrogenic, especially Dbol. Testosterone needs in a less degree. Enanthate also, it could be also prolactin elevation. So yes, you could use with such doses Aromasin, I would say 3 times a week, which is very important, suicidal aromatase inhibitor. Otherwise, in order to avoid overuse of AI, lower the doses of those 3 in 50%. But it's a crime not to use an AI with this combination, this stack of steroids. Come on.
What would happen? How high, if your estrogen, just to remind people, what happens if your estrogen goes way up here?
It's not just that, it's definitely you're going to have a Gyno. Come on, a lump over here.
Nobody wants that. It's not a good look. I like these ones that you can answer yes or no, and we're done. Can testosterone cypionate and NPP, or that would be nandrolone phenylpropionate, be injected together?
The NPP and what else?
Best SIP, testosterone cypionate.
No, it's a slow and fast tester. Why to do this? Well,
I mean, I would.
You have a blend, but it's testosterone cypionate with what NPP? What is Deca?
Yeah, NPP. That's the nandrolone. That's the fast acting.
No, I would say do Monday, Wednesday, Friday the Deca, and just Monday the cypionate, because cypionate has an 8 days half-life. It's a stupidity to inject the enanthate and the cypionate more than twice a week, the most.
Okay.
It's a waste of time, waste of pinning, and there's no reason to do this because the half-life is prolonged.
Yeah, well, see, the way I look at it, I'm going to be sticking a needle in me anyway. So I would do, if I was going to do the NPP 3 times a week, I would just put a little bit of the test in there so I get the same dose, just because I'm going to be injecting anyway.
The testosterone, the cypionate travels week after week. It doesn't clear your system until at least 1 week. All right. So why to pin again? I mean, why to inject? It will be accumulated gradually, increase your level.
Because I'm lazy. I don't want to stick myself more than I need to.
Once a week, the cypionate, 3 times a week, the NPP, because it clears the system. That's why.
Yeah, but mixing them together in the syringe, as we've said before, that doesn't reduce the effectiveness of the
No,
oil.
but listen, you cannot follow the cypionate 3 times a week. You cannot follow also the NPP once a week.
It's true.
So they have different travel times.
I wonder why, if you're going to do that, why don't you just use regular Deca, undecanate, if you're going to be using something like cypionate, they just have matching esters.
For the sake of NPP, use propionate testosterone. And you can mix them, and this is the most reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, that's a lot of injecting. Okay, 2 training days. The last question I printed out was one we already answered, so we're done. That's the OxyContin, man. I'm almost done with my pain meds, guys. So if I sound dumb, I blame the drugs.
The OxyContin was the one that killed Michael Jackson, right?
I think so. It's killed a lot of people in the U.S. A lot of people died.
It's like milk, eh? It's milk use.
No, it's just the tablets, oxycodone.
All right.
Yeah, it's an opiate. I mean, we have a massive opiate addiction problem in the United States. Massive,
but it's so sad. The medical community prescribes so easily with the opiates, but hesitate to give testosterone like the devil fears the church.
I just think we're looked at. There's such a stigma, a bias against steroid use. It's like we're looked at as like cheaters, and they say you're cheating, and I say, who am I cheating? I'm not competing in the Olympics.
I'm cheating death. Yeah, I'm cheating death.
Thank you. Cheating, whatever.
Yeah, I'm cheating death. Come on.
Anyway.
When somebody's diabetic, he goes to the Olympics. Is he a cheater? No. Because he uses insulin? No, hell no. Yeah. He comes to the other level with the others because of the deficiency. Come on.
Yeah, and a lot of natural bodybuilding federations, they don't allow people who are on TRT to compete. You're disqualified, even if your blood levels are that of a normal person, which, what are you gonna do?
Somebody who's a dwarf and uses GH is a cheater. Come on.
True, a dwarf. Yeah, that I don't think they're cheating because they don't want to be 3 feet tall, you know. They'd like to look a little more like a normal person. Anyway, that is our show for the week. Guys, if you have questions for next week's show, please leave them in the comments below. We will get to them. It's crazy how people message me on Instagram with these questions thinking I know the answers. Dr. Touliatos is a medical doctor. I am not. That's why I ask him the questions, guys. So questions for the doc, put them down below, or comments, anything in general. Like the videos, share the videos, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, do all that good stuff. We're so lucky to have Dr. George Touliatos here every week on this show, answering questions with authority, somebody who's walked the walk, talked the talk, and the best arms of any medical doctor in the world. I'll say it right now. I saw that double bicep picture the other day. Good God. Oh, I want those arms. Anyway.
You know, they've been saying our show is the most popular. And actually, I don't know, many of the shows are useful, but something that brings a plethora of information. Yeah. 224 weeks straight.
34. This is show 234. You know, it's funny. My Facebook memories came up of me and you at the 2019 Olympia. And I think in the caption, I said, we've done 12 shows already. I was like, oh boy, 12 shows. You know, here we are a few years later, we've done almost 200. It's coming up on 250 shows pretty soon. You know, wow, that's a lot.
Steve told me I wish you another 200 and now we're 235 almost.
Yeah, I mean, how many questions? Woo, thousands of questions. Thousands of questions. Yeah, and half of them are, how do I prevent hair loss? Anyway, it's probably half the question. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much for doing this every week. And guys, thank you for supporting the show and watching. And again, if you like these videos, share them so your other friends on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, can get some of this knowledge. Knowledge is power, guys. That's what we need. We need people to be aware and informed. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Ask Dr. Testosterone. We'll see you here next time. Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.